You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
Ever since the Switch 1 released way back in 2017, I've taken a huge interest in Nintendo's methodology. As arguably the most iconic titan in the gaming industry, it always fascinated me how they always focused more on the quality of their games and how their consoles could be molded to suit them. Well, Sony and Microsoft always stuck to the tried and true video game boxes, with the biggest differences between generations being performance uplifts. Nintendo always seemed to think outside of the box, releasing this hybrid console that allowed for a portable and docked experience that was incredibly convenient for gamers. Yes, it was barely more powerful than an Xbox 360, but it didn't matter. Nintendo games, along with the experience that only they could offer, is really what made the Switch such a massive success. Fast forward to 2022, and the Switch 2 is unveiled, and to my surprise, it's largely the same as the original Switch, just with more modern hardware, along with a feature that lets you use the Joy-Con as easily the least ergonomic mouse since Apple's. After the initial unveiling, along with the spec leaks that came along with it, I was super excited for it. Yes, the console will probably still lag behind the PS5 and Xbox Series X, but to have all that power in the palm of your hands on the go, with all the Nintendo games that we know and love, is incredibly promising. Well, me along with countless others let out a collective sigh a few days ago when the Switch 2 Direct was broadcasted. Not a sigh of relief because the fears of the console's pricing and hardware were unfounded, but more of an agonizing groan of betrayal. The Switch 2 hardware looks promising, offering a 120Hz 1080p experience on the go. That, alongside 4K 60fps docked, seems like a dream come true for a lot of us. The games that were shown looked amazing. First-party games like Donkey Kong, the new Mario Kart, and even a new Kirby Air Ride game. That is the sequel that I've always wanted and never thought would actually happen. Even FromSoft has their own exclusive on the device. Things were looking amazing, almost too good to be true. And just like almost every roller coaster I've built in Roller Coaster Tycoon, my hopes for the Switch 2 nosedived, crashed, and burned as soon as Nintendo unveiled their pricing strategy. I'll be honest, the launch pricing for the console itself isn't as egregious as it could have been. $450 Freedom dollars for the base model, or $500 for the system alongside the new Mario Kart. In this economy, it's actually not that bad of an increase compared to the original Switch's launch price. But my thoughts quickly soured as I learned more about the pricing of the games for the Switch 2. First of all, the tech demo welcome tour doesn't even come with the Switch 2, like Astro's Playroom did on the PS5. It is, in fact, a paid game. It doesn't take much to realize how ridiculous that is. The introductory tech demo is literally being sold on top of the actual tech that it's demoing. That is just ridiculous to me and almost everyone else who saw it. But the real icing on top of this turd cake, what everyone's been talking about, is the prices of these Nintendo first-party games. The new Mario Kart is starting at $80 USD. Notice how I said starting at? Well, apparently the physical copy is gonna cost a whopping $90. This is some Mr. Krabs level of greed. It's crazy. And if this pricing proves to be successful, it'll have much deeper consequences for the gaming industry as a whole. $80 or $90 may become the new standard for a AAA game. I've seen a ton of discourse about this online. On one hand, a 30% increase in games is ridiculous. On the other, if you factor in inflation, that increase isn't as much as one would be led to believe. But while everything is increasing in price, you know what isn't? That's right, most people's wages. It's gonna be incredibly hard for someone who isn't a diehard Nintendo fan to justify spending this much money on a console plus games when there are already much cheaper options. PlayStation, Xbox, and especially PC games are all cheaper, with much deeper discounts during sales, while Breath of the Wild is still full priced and gets like a 10% discount during sales. What I find really inexcusable though is the game upgrade system that Nintendo has laid out here. Their biggest example was Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. In order to play them in 60 FPS in higher resolutions, you have to pay extra. That's right, in order to play the game that you bought with the system that you bought, you have to actually pay extra. They did add some content, if you could even call it that, a companion app called Zelda Notes, where when you get to certain points in the game, Zelda will have her own notes about it. There's also a GPS, because that's really what I want in an exploration game, right? Google Maps integration. There's a way to share Ultra Hand creations, which is kind of cool, but none of this really warrants paying extra in my opinion. It's now pretty clear to me why Nintendo tried to kill Switch emulation, legal or otherwise. They want to milk this boost in performance for as much money as they can. It's kind of a scummy move in my opinion, especially when on launch the PS5 and Series X offered free upgrades. The Last of Us 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Ghost of Tsushima were all free upgrades before getting a PS5 remaster. Another divisive topic relating to the Switch 2's launch is the keycard system. Essentially, some games that release physically would just be download keys that give you the license to download and play the game. It kind of defeats the purpose of having a physical game in the first place, but this is nothing new. This has been a thing since the PS4 and Xbox One, and while I think it's dumb, it wasn't a huge deal breaker for me compared to the other shit. When the Switch 2 was first announced, I immediately decided to buy one. Having a powerful console as portable as a Switch is undeniably awesome to me. But after this Direct, my opinion has 180'd so fast that I have whiplash. With the Switch costing almost $700 after tax here in Canada, along with games being upwards of $120, I just can't justify it as much as I love Nintendo games. If only there was a portable console that could play my existing library of Steam games on the go with no extra cost. But I'd love to hear what you all think about this. Will you be buying a Switch 2, or do the prices have you thinking otherwise? Let me know in the comments. Till next time, see ya.